have athletes making millions and millions of dollars. We have opportunity after opportunity off of the backs of the ones that were treated so terrible all those years ago. And it was shameful that it had to happen that way, but nothing we can do can change the past. We need to make sure that we move forward in the right direction, you know? And what gets me, what is so frustrating to me is when people don't want to hear the truth. When you know what the truth is, and you know what would make everything right, but people don't want to hear it. White, black, Mexican, whatever the race. It's all about Jesus. Without Jesus, you know, it's going to be wrong. Nothing can be right. Peter looked at the unclean meat. If you want to interpret this, that unclean meat, well, that was the Gentiles. That was the ones, you know, I talked about. They walked all the way around the city not to go there. Thought of them as dogs. They're unclean people, you know. And this is the Jews that felt that way about them. But God knew that the Gentiles needed him just as bad as his own people did. God knew that there were people in the Gentiles that were suffering and needed God. They needed a Savior. And he was going to send Peter to preach to them. In verse 16. This was done thrice, and the vessel was received up again into heaven. Now while Peter doubted in himself what this vision which he had seen should mean, behold, the men which were sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house and stood before the gate, and called and asked whether Simon, which was surnamed Peter, was lodged there. While Peter thought on the vision, the Spirit said to him, Behold, 3 men seek thee. Arise therefore and get thee down, and go to them doubting nothing, for I have sent them. Then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, Behold, I am he whom ye seek. What is the cause wherefore ye are come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, and one that feared God, and of good report among all the nation of the Jews, was warned from God by a holy angel to send for thee into the house, and to hear the words of thee. Then called him in and lodged with them, and on the morrow Peter went with them to the certain brethren from Joppa, accompanied him. See, God's going to send him to this Gentile land. You know, all these the things that they considered. God gave us the 10 Commandments. Gave us 10 things to go by, 10 laws. The Jews decided, well, hey, let's make some Mosaic laws. So we'll make 680 or 90 laws that nobody on earth could possibly keep. Instead of just those 10. But Peter, he's being sent, and on the morrow, in verse 24, and then on the morrow they entered into Caesarea, and Cornelius waited before them, and he called together his kinsmen and near friends. And as Peter was coming in, Cornelius met him, and fell down at his feet and worshipped him. But Peter took him up, saying, Stand up, I myself and also am a man. And as he talked with him, he went in and found many that were come together. And he said unto them, Ye know how that it is unlawful thing for a man that is a Jew to keep company. It's unlawful for that Jew, one of those Mosaic laws, for him to keep company with the Gentiles, or come into one of another nation. But God has showed me that I should not call any man common or unclean. So that opened up, where Peter was just preaching to the Jews, that opened up a whole nother nationality, a whole nother big group of people for him to preach to. You know, he went from Longwood to North Carolina. Yeah. Now, the harvest is great. You know, he's got so many that he can preach to now because of God doing away with that law. Therefore came I unto you with gainsaying, as soon as I was sent, I asked therefore, what intent ye have sent for me? And Cornelius said, 4 days ago I was fasting until this hour, and at the 9th hour I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing, and said, Cornelius, thy prayer is heard, and thine alms are had in remembrance in the sight of God. Send therefore to Joppa, and call hither Simon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodged in the house of one Simon, a tanner by the seaside, who, when he cometh, shall speak unto thee. Immediately therefore I sent to thee, and thou hast well done that thou art come. Now therefore we are all here present before God to hear all things that are commanded thee of God. Then Peter opened his mouth and said, Of a truth I perceive that God is no respecter of persons, no respecter of man, no nation. We're all the same. There is no division. There is no one is greater than the other because he was a Jew, he was a Gentile, he was an Egyptian, he was from Africa, he was from wherever. God looked at us all the same. So he wanted to get that in Peter's mind. Now, I've sent you out to preach because Peter was going to minister to many. Now, that was the rock that God basically built his church on. So he knew that Peter had to have that open mind that all God's people were created equal. No one greater than the other. Because before that, I imagine Peter had a one set mind. Okay, I'm preaching, and I'm going to be preaching to God's people. I ain't going to have to deal with the Gentiles. Maybe he didn't hate them or despise them, but he didn't want to deal with them, you see. And see, whenever, remember when Jesus came to the well of the Samaritan woman, she said, you're asking me to give you something I can't give. I'm not supposed to dip this water for you. I'm not supposed to give it to you because I'm a Samaritan. She realized, that she was less than a Jew. And it's sad. It's sad to see through time where people have thought it's just that I am much greater than thee. I won't drink out the same glass that you've drunk out of, don't matter if it's been washed or not. I'm not going to use the same restroom that you use. I'm not going to use the same restaurant, sleep in the same motel. I'm not doing any of these things just because of the difference in skin color. Because we all bleed red, And I have to say, in my life, there's been times, yes, I've been that person. But I pray to the good Lord, that I'm never that man again that I feel like I'm any better than anybody else because of my skin color. But I'm not going to be ashamed of who I am. I can't change that. I'm going to love my Lord, and I'm going to share Him with each and everybody I come in contact with. I'm not going to stereotype people. I feel so sorry for the good people that get stereotyped into a certain group just because of the color of their skin, whether it's black, white, Latino, Mexican, or whatever. Because, we look at people, they would look at me. Well, there's Chris Stanley. Let's see, he likes to hunt, he likes to fish, he goes to church, he's a real simple-minded person. He's a racist. That's the way people look at things today. I'm the furthest thing from that. And when I look at this young black man in a nice car, I shouldn't think he's a drug dealer. I should think, he's probably a hard-working young man. He's probably better than a lot of other people. I shouldn't just go to that. But because of the way things are and the way society wants us to think, our mind automatically goes to certain thoughts, And it's shameful that's where we're at again. There was a time when it wasn't there like that. When I was in high school, everybody got along. Everybody, knew everybody, each other's family. Miss Viola Simmons, she helped us farm. And my grandpa always made sure if he had anything extra in the garden, or if we caught fish, or if we had deer, or whatever, we took it out of there. And she was a good Christian woman, and she raised good Christian boys. Now, one of them is very, very successful. But he didn't get to be successful by being lazy. He got successful because he tried. And that's with anybody. It don't matter, black, white, whatever. If you don't try, nothing's ever going to change. But, thank God for those that do. In verse 35. But in every nation, he that feareth him and worketh righteousness is accepted with him. That's clear saying there. Whoever feareth him, talking about God, and worketh righteousness is acceptable unto him. That applies today just as the same as it did then. In verse 36, the word which God sent unto the children of Israel, preaching peace by Jesus Christ. He is Lord of all. That word I say, ye know, which was published through all Judea and began from Galilee after the baptism which John preached. And God anointed Jesus of Nazareth with the Holy Ghost and with power, who went about doing good and healing all that were oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. And we are witnesses of all things which he did both in the land of the Jews and in Jerusalem, whom they slew and hanged on a tree. Him God raised up the third day and showed him openly, not to all people, but to witnesses chosen before God, even to us, who did eat and drink with him after he rose from the dead. Verse 42. And he commanded us to preach unto the people. It didn't say which kind, it said the people. Preach to everyone. And to testify that it is he which was ordained of God to be the judge of the quick and the dead. To him give all the prophets witness that through his name whosoever believeth in him shall receive remission of sin. So it didn't say this one or that one. It said whomsoever call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. We need to love like God does. We need to look over people's thoughts. We need to look over the way that society is wanting us to look at each other. We got brains. We can make our own decisions. We know what's right and wrong. We know what's good and bad. I don't need nobody to tell me that. And we don't need we look at the past to do better in the future, not to relive it. There's so many people that want to back up and relive the past and things that went wrong and was wrong because it benefits them, because it stirs the pot and it keeps things going that's beneficial to them. I say put this thing to bed, put it to rest, love each other in a way that God intends us to love one another, and the problem's solved. But people don't want that. But let me tell you something. God's will be done. Whether it don't matter who stands there, who screams from the top of the steps of wherever that they're being done wrong, this, that, that. God knows what's right. He knows what's going on. He will punish the right, he will punish the wrong, and he will make sure that who's doing the right is known. Where people, I just think people forget that there is a day of reckoning. All this stuff that people's done and got away with for all these years to benefit themselves off of the backs of day there's gonna be that day of reckoning, and they're gonna pay for that day. And I thank God that I'm not one of them. I love, our forefathers said, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We're guaranteed that. Let's live it today. I had so many thoughts. Some of them I might not better say. But it's bad that we're in that time where you have to be scared about what you say. But I speak the truth. I speak the Bible truth. And if I can look at this Bible and I can see the faults of great men such as Peter and Jonah. Jonah didn't want to go to Nineveh. If you're talking about racist and not liking a group of people, he meant he wasn't going to Nineveh.